Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome ye all to yet another vlog of mine. This is a particularly special vlog, simply because it's that time of the year. No, it's not Christmas. It's E3! Well, it's Gamers Christmas, I suppose. Yes, it was E3 week over the last week, and I watched the main conferences, of which there were 5. And what I'm going to do in this vlog is rattle through everything that I jotted. It's not everything that was announced, because it's just ridiculous. There's no way you can keep up with it all, and frankly half of it wouldn't be that much of interest to people on this channel anyway. And it's really just to rattle through. Probably the one that I've jotted down more than I should have done was the Microsoft one, but we'll start with that. And we'll just rattle through what I noted, what I caught release dates for, and I'll talk more about the things that have interested me as I go through them. And maybe throw a bit of footage up. I'm not sure how much footage I'm going to throw up. What I will definitely throw up is a talk through of the Jedi Fallen Order gameplay footage that was shown for E3, because it just totally stoked me for that. And outside of that, because I've already pre-recorded that and I'll throw it into the vlog, and outside of that I might put some footage up behind me. If I blab on a little bit about a particular game, I might throw some footage up behind me. But to be honest, I mean, this video will get immediately copyrighted because of the Star Wars video, because when I do a talk through, I leave the sound of it up and I don't have my face on it. I've only done it once before. It was Death Stranding and it got copyrighted. And it's the music and it's other, you know, even if it's not the music now, it's the images as well. They actually copyright the images that they throw up, and you have to, you can dispute it, but you know, it doesn't matter, people. We're here for the fun of it. I mean, it doesn't stop it being shown. It just means they put ads in it and I get nothing. You know, that's just the way it is. But to be fair, on the amount of views I get on a vlog, it makes very, very little difference anyway. For the amount of people that want to see this ugly face. Anyway, before we go any further, people, flaggins up to you all. It is Flaggins Up Friday after all. And I'm going to have a sip of this before I get going, because I'm going to be talking for a little while, I think. Going by the notes on my phone. Cheers to you all. You know I'd buy you one if I could. If you were here right now, I'd be buying you beers, people. I would, or drink, or whatever you want. Water. You can all have a water out the tap at the bar. That is awesome. If you haven't got one of these in your life, while you're watching this vlog, go and change that. Go and get one. You're going to need it. But go and get one. I apologise if I look a bit dark. I've got loads of lighting in here, but because of the window behind me, if the sun comes out, and it's if it's early enough and the sun beams through, because of the brightness behind me, things start going a bit wobbly. There is actually light coming from the garden at the front, but that's superseding it. So anyway, it'll go a bit dark and light as we go on. But anyway, dark is better with this skin. With these wrinkles, people, you know, dark is better. Dark. We'll have a bit of shade from the cap, shall we? Hey, I always try and colour coordinate, people. Right, well, we'll start with Microsoft. E3 conference. I'll rattle through. Now, it's going to be interesting because I haven't looked at what I jotted down since they happened. And I kind of jot stuff down and think, and other times I think, oh, maybe I should jot it down. And it'll be interesting to see how much of it stuck. But anyway. So the first thing that I had jotted down from the Microsoft E3 conference was The Outer Worlds from Obsidian. Now I have a feeling, I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that this is the co-op game that Obsidian already had in production before Microsoft bought them over. I could be getting completely confused with something else, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And it's a 3, I think. Is it 3 versus 3 or something? It was. I know, that's Bleeding Edge, that's Ninja Theories. No, I am getting confused. The Outer Worlds is a completely different thing. Ignore what I'm saying. You're already off to a bad start, people. So The Outer Worlds by Obsidian, I'm not remembering at all. But anyway, The Outer Worlds by Obsidian was announced. Bleeding Edge by Ninja Theory. It was 4v4, co-op. I've no idea why, you know. But it was a game they were making. They obviously wanted to get into the co-op business. And it looked fun enough. I don't do PvP. I don't do co-op. I don't do that sort of stuff. I do co-op, in story co-op, that kind of thing. But I don't do PvP, so it's not much interest to me. But I like Ninja Theory. I love them as a company. Is it a good thing Microsoft bought them over? Probably, because they'll probably get a bigger budget than they would have had to make a game. And going by Senua's Sacrifice, I think that's nothing but good. So hopefully that game was already in production when Microsoft bought them. So that was, it was kind of coming. Whatever happens after this is what Microsoft are funding them for. So we'll see what happens. Where are we? Ori and the Will of the Wisps is out on February the 20th. There was no February 2020, I should say. A lot of people are looking forward to that game. Ori was a huge success, so there's a lot of people looking forward to that game. Minecraft Dungeons, if you're into Minecraft and that sort of thing, that is also spring 2020. Jedi Fallen Order. Now, I can't tell you how stoked I am for that game after seeing the footage of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rattle through all of the things that I spotted at the conferences, and then I'll come back to the ones that were of interest. I think that's probably the best thing we can do here. So I'll talk a lot more about Fallen Order later on in this vlog, and I will show you the talk through that I've already pre-recorded as well. So Fallen Order is out this year, people. 15th of the 11th, 2019. We get it on the 15th of November, and I cannot wait. I wasn't remotely stoked for this game until I saw that footage. I was hopeful of the game. I was delighted they were making a third-person Star Wars game, and I was delighted it was a Jedi game. I just didn't have any kind of excitement for it because I just felt like it was going to fail, because everything they've done with Star Wars since Disney took it over has been a failure, in my opinion. I wasn't interested in Battlefront. It's a online bollocks type thing that just wants you to spend money. I can't be arsed with it. Okay, it looks pretty, but where is the fun in that? I'm not interested. I don't care. I want a game I can get sunk into that's going to take me further into that universe and give me something more to think about in that universe. And this is and I'll talk, as I said, I'll talk about it more when we get to the talk through, but I am now super stoked for that game. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. There was a game that came out of the blue, which looked like it was going to be Outlast 3, and it was actually a Blair Witch game, which everyone was like, where'd that come from? I don't know who's making it, but it was a Blair Witch game for the Xbox. Could be on other consoles, but it was Xbox's conference. It was super scary, and it had the camcorder and all that sort of stuff, so that's what made me think it was Outlast. I've no idea. It didn't show any sort of fighting or anything. It looked like another one of those where you're sort of running away all the time, so, we'll see what comes of it. But it did look good, though, to be fair to it. Scary as bloody hell. Cyberpunk 2077, I don't think anyone's excited for that. That's a joke, by the way, and we'll come back to a poll I did on that later. So Cyberpunk 2077, which had probably the best moment of E3, which was Keanu Reeves telling everybody that they were breathtaking. Keanu Reeves comes on the stage. I don't know if you haven't seen this clip, go and find it on YouTube. But Keanu Reeves was brought onto stage he comes on by himself to when the game's shown. He walks onto stage and he's talking through this auto cue, which is telling him the world you will walk around is breathtaking. And he has a giggle to himself as somebody in the crowd goes, "You're breathtaking!" And he laughs and he goes, "You're breathtaking! You're all breathtaking!" It was the best, honest to God, the best moment of E3. Yeah, it just shows you. Keanu Reeves is just a dude, isn't he? He's just brilliant.
Cyberpunk is set in a metropolis of the future, where body modification has become an obsession. You play as an outlaw, an enhanced mercenary working in the sleazy underbelly of the city. Yeah. Okay, but let me tell you, the feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking. All right. So, I got to finish this. So tell me, do you guys want to know when the release date.
So, yeah, Cyberpunk 2077, that is mega popular for people wanting that game. I'm not sure it's for me, to be quite honest with you. I'm not big on first person anyway, and the more I see of the game, I see why people are going to be into it. I just don't know if it's going to be for me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yes, the release date is 16th of April 2020. So it's not... we finally have a release date for it. It's next year, April. What else have we got? There was Game Pass. They've announced an ultimate version of Game Pass, which basically has the gold membership and Game Pass for £14.99. £14.99. Can't remember what it was in dollars. No, £10.99 in pounds, £14.99 in dollars. So £10.99 for £10.99 you can get gold and Game Pass monthly. But right now, and it's still valid, I think, at the moment. At the time of putting this up, which is I'm forgetting the date now. It's the 14th, isn't it? So yeah, I think up until the 17th that offer is £1. So you can go and get it for £1 for the first month, and then after that it's $10.99 or $14.99 in the United States of America. And with that, which surprised me actually, is they've added Metro Exodus to it, which is it looks a phenomenal game. I've played the other two, and they're brilliant. I absolutely adore those games. I played the remastered versions on the new gen, and they're absolutely brilliant. So if you want an excuse to play Metro Exodus for £1, then sign up to Game Pass for at least a month, and you'll get it for £1. You can cancel it anytime you like before the $10.99 hits, or stick with it if you like the... I mean, it's over 100 games on there now. Flight Simulator, not bothered. Age of Empire Definitive Edition, not bothered. That was kind of a Roman Empire thing, maybe. Wasteland 3, which I am quite bothered about. There was no release date or anything, I don't think. I played Wasteland 2. Anyone that's been with me since the early days of the channel, I played quite a number of episodes of Wasteland 2, and then I stopped, because that's what I do. I'm trying, people. I'm trying to be better. So I'm quite stoked to see Wasteland 3. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Collection. That's basically all the Lego games with anyone with Skywalker in it. It's coming. No date. Gears 5. It's not called Gears of War anymore. It's just called Gears 5. And it looks great. And I'm really looking forward to that. And that is coming out on September 10th. Why have I got days next to that? Oh, I see. It's 2 lines of text, people. So it's coming out on September 10th this year, 2019. 4 days early on Game Pass Ultimate. So if you've got Game Pass, if you've signed up to Game Pass Ultimate, you'll be able to play that game 4 days early. That's pretty sweet, actually. That'll probably get a lot of people buying it just for a month. It's quite clever, that one. So yeah, it does look good. I'm a big fan of Gears, always have been. There's not been a Gears game that I've not liked to some degree. Good fun. Not something I would ever show on the channel, other than I think a montage I did at one point, but I wouldn't do anything gameplay-wise now, I don't think. Elite Controller Series 2 was announced, so there was an Elite Controller out now, and it's got loads of jiggly bits on it. This one's got the same jiggly bits on it with an extra jiggly bit on it, and that's coming out. That's whoop! State of Decay 2 Heartland DLC. No date that I've seen, or no date that I've jotted down. Phantasy Star Online 2, free to play. Crossfire X, can't remember what that was. Tales of... no, can't remember what that was. Tales of Arise is out 2020. I can't remember what that was either. Borderlands 3, which a lot of people were stoked about. Again, it was in a poll, which we'll talk about later. And that is out on the 13th of the 9th, 19. So you don't have long to wait for that one. What's that? August, September. Yeah. 13th of September 19. There was before this all kind of came about, there was a rumour that George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones, had been over to From Software, who do Dark Souls and Bloodborne, to put together a new universe of well, not universe, probably the wrong word, but a new world that a game would be in and working hand in hand with them. And that turned out to be true. There was only a very short announcement type of trailer thing. There was no gameplay. You've no idea what it's going to be. An RPG, we would think. But it was called Elden Ring, and it is from software that's doing it, so that's now been confirmed. I'm reckoning that is miles off. It was definitely going to be next gen. It is going to be next gen. That is going to be PS5 and Xbox 2, should we call it that? What else do we have? They also announced so at pretty much the very end of the conference, they said, right, what about our next? I mean, all right, they were talking about Xbox cloud gaming and Xbox. So basically, you're going to be able to turn your Xbox into a server and play your games from anywhere, wherever you are, via your mobile devices. So that was all announced. There was going to be cloud gaming. If you don't have an Xbox and you want to play Xbox games, you can use the cloud gaming service to do it via Xbox. So there's all sorts of ways to play Xbox games. And it's brilliant. Well done to them. I'm really enjoying the fact that they're really embracing every way of getting to play games. But more importantly, I'm embracing the fact that Phil Spencer knows that there is one reason and one reason alone to make a console, and it is to play games. And that is where the original Xbox failed with a capital F and a capital everything else after it. Because it tried to be something else and nobody wanted it. We want a gaming console. And Phil Spencer gets that. This is probably why my number one console next gen is definitely... Well, my number one console at the minute is the X, because it is just a superior machine to the PS4 Pro in every way I can think of, other than the exclusives. So, the power matters, but it's things like the silence of it. It's a very quiet machine. I never hear it. If I turn the Pro on, it's making all sorts of fan noises. Like it's just a really sweetly designed machine, and it is in my opinion, it's the best console that Microsoft ever made. Is that X? It's really well thought about. It's the first one that doesn't have a brick outside of it, a plug brick. It's the power supplies inside it. It's using liquid cooling to keep it quiet. It's just gorgeous. It is a really nice machine. Their controllers have been refined and they're more solid and they're brilliant. They're really, really cool. And unless they do something extremely cool with the PS5, I think my number one console for cross-gen gaming is going to be the next Xbox. And I will have both anyway, because that's what I do on this channel. And I will have and because I'm a big nerd and I like gadgets. And I want to play everything. So I will have a PS5. It's just I will most likely use that for just the exclusives. And I'll use I'll take something pretty cool and amazing to make me change my mind at the minute. So we'll see what happens with we don't know what PlayStation are doing. But as I've already talked about on this channel, I'm not a massive fan of... There's little things about the guy that's taken over that I'm worried about, concerned about, I think. So we'll see what happens there. So, okay, let's get this out. I'm trying to decide whether to talk about this now, shall we? So, yeah, so basically they talked about what was coming next hardware-wise. And that, at the moment, is called Project Scarlet. We don't know what the next Xbox is going to be called. The basics of this that I picked up on, it's going to be, processor-wise, it is going to be 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. It's going to have GDDR6 RAM. It's going to have, we don't know how much of that, but it's going to have GDDR6 fast RAM. It's going to have 120 frames per second. It's going to have the possibility of 120 frames per second. It's going to have solid state drives in it to make loading screens vanish. It's got is that all I had? Got excited there. I thought it was a massive list, but there isn't. And they effectively said that it is launching next holiday season. So basically we're looking at next October, November. I would say November probably. I think that's when it normally happens. So it's releasing on holiday 2020, and it is releasing with Halo Infinite. So Halo 6 is that then? Yeah, because 5's already been out, hasn't it? So Halo 6, Halo Infinite it's called, in fact. And Halo Infinite, which will please just about every Halo fan in the entire universe, is a spiritual reboot back to the Master Chief. So they are going back to these stories are about Master Chief, not what they did in Halo 5, which was a whole bunch of bollocks that nobody wanted. Nothing wrong with the game per se, but they were trying to sort of cash in on co-op stuff. They were trying to not have Master Chief as the main thing as what was going on as playable character, and it was just a massive fail. So I think they've learnt from that. They've heard the community. It's all about Master Chief again. So I think, they can start from Infinite as a point forward to start that series again, really. Take it forward from there. So really exciting stuff. I'm really, really, really pleased with what I heard about that. That was as much as I expected to hear. I wasn't expecting an announcement or a date or a name of the console. That's pretty much what they did when they were talking about the Scorpio, which became the X. So that was all fine. And that was pretty much it for what I jotted down for Microsoft. Bethesda was the next one that I watched. Let's rattle through them, people, shall we? Fallout 76 is free on trial. They've got a whole bunch. To be fair to them, Fallout 76 was a massive... What's the word? It was not right at launch. I'm going to try and not swear. I haven't played it, so to be fair, I can't really be slagging something off I haven't played. But we know that it had a lot of problems at launch. And there wasn't enough to do. There was all sorts of things and there was bugs everywhere, which is, to be fair, that's Bethesda games, isn't it? 2 months after it's launched, you've got a great game. So they've released a whole bunch of extra stuff for it. There's a DLC called Wastelanders 76, which is coming this autumn, I should say. And there's a whole bunch of stuff being added that people have been asking for. The bugs and stuff that were there have, I think, been smoothed out at this point. So, and they've added a battle royale mode to it, if that's the sort of thing that you're into. So there's all sorts of stuff. And I have to say, though, I love it when a game lands hard. And when I mean lands hard, it gets a hard time at launch. And the company does everything it can to save it. Like... they don't just write it off as like, oh, fucking hell, right, let's move on to the next one, which Bethesda could have done, because Bethesda have got the money to do that. They could go, oh, right, let's dump it, let's everyone get on to Skyrim 25. But you know what I mean? It's like, I love it when a company says, no, we believe in this project, we want it to work. And they did it with, No Man's Sky is a prime example. And No Man's Sky, in my opinion, was never a bad game. It was just, it was sold in a particularly poor way. It was sold as a AAA title, and it wasn't a AAA title. But that game has become phenomenally successful when it started with a massive bump. So if you can give... Destiny's another example. Destiny still has its ups and downs, but it went through this sort of okay beginning with people really moaning about the lack of content. Suddenly, at the end of that, at some point near the end, we got the... what was it called? I'm going to forget now. Anyway, it got a massive DLC, which just kind of saved it. And it was kind of the game that I'd always wanted in the first place. So, and then after that, I kind of lost interest again. So there's... I guess maybe staff come and go, or with something like Destiny, and you get a better story one time than another, but I don't know. But anyway, I love it when a company sticks with it and makes a game successful, even though it didn't get the best of starts. And maybe that'll happen with the EA one, the BioWare one. But anyway. So Bethesda started off with that. Fallout 76 seems to be becoming a much better game now. There is a love growing for it, I think. There's also Nuclear Winter was another thing that's being added to it. Now here was a thing, right? So this came right out of the blue, and if I talk long enough, I might put some footage up. But to be fair, there was no gameplay footage. But Ghostwire Tokyo was a completely sort of out of the blue thing, so far as I might have expected Evil Within 3 or something like that, because it's the same company that did Evil Within, but it's the guy who made the first Evil Within, because it was a different director and stuff for the second one. It's the guy that did the direction of the first one that's now doing this game, Ghostwire Tokyo, and that's maybe why he didn't do the second one. And it's got a really good vibe to it, and it's kind of similar to a Stephen King story from quite a while back, where people just start vanishing like literally just vanishing, right? And nobody knows where they've gone. And this clip was literally like that. You know, it was kind of panning around. There was all these ghostly type creatures, and there was it would pan round, and you'd see all these people walking. Then you go past a pillar, and the clothes would just drop to the floor, and you don't really know what's going on. So it didn't really explain what kind of game it was going to be. But then he kind of came on and presented it. Then a woman came on after the trailer, I think it was, and she kind of talked a little bit more about it. But for my liking, it's probably going to be quite evil within it. I mean, we don't know who the protagonist is at this point, I don't think, and we don't know. It literally just showed the world kind of falling into this chaos of people vanishing. So I'm really stoked for that, because Evil Within 1, I love that game, although I nearly got the end of it and didn't quite make it. Evil Within 2, I just didn't have the same vibe with that game. Like, it felt like a completely different world and character. Like, maybe it was the jump to new gen or the different director, but it just didn't feel like the same haunting game that the first one was. The first one, in my opinion, is a genius game. The second one, I just did not get that vibe with that second one at all. But anyway, I have it to play again. Maybe without the expectation of the first one all over again. Maybe I should, because I played it on the PS4, and I bought it because I saw it cheap on the Xbox One. So I've still got it to play. I've never played it on the Xbox One X, so I've still got it to play. Maybe I'll try it again at some point. So I was really stoked for that. Really looking forward to Ghostwire Tokyo, that was called. No release date. I mean, I think that's a way off. So if they're not even showing us any gameplay or anything, and it's literally just sort of cinematics. Wolfenstein. I think it's Wolfenstein, people are saying, isn't it? Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, VR July. That's out in July, sorry. So Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, it's a VR version, is out in July. Wolfenstein Youngblood Co-op. So Wolfenstein Youngblood, it's the two daughters of the main character. It's kind of a spin-off. That is out 26th of July, 2019. So it's coming very soon for anyone that's a big Wolfenstein fan. I have to say, I love the Wolfenstein games. I played the first one through to its conclusion. Second one I'm kind of on with. Started playing it about a year ago. I'll get there, people, all right? Don't judge me. You're not the boss of me. Leave me alone. Stop judging me. I can feel you judging me. I do finish games, right? Well, one a decade. Deathloop. This was an interesting one. It's funny. This has stuck with me, actually. Deathloop is the same people that made... Oh, dear. Dishonored and Prey. And this is it's kind of like you've got the option of playing as two different characters, which is something they kind of gave you in the last Dishonored, isn't it? And in fact, they did it in Prey as well, but it was just a man or a woman choice there. But in Dishonored, it was more, things changed a little bit if you were the guy or the girl, because it was, yeah. So it's kind of similar to that one, but the female character from the trailer was all about where you end up being a good place, and the guy was like, no, this is an evil place. So you've both got a different goal. So depending on which character you go, you've got to fight the other one and try and defeat them. It was quite a cool idea. It was really, really, really good. The area they ended up in, or the place, was called Black Reef. It was Arcane Studios that were making it, and they were really stoked about it. It looked really cool. The voice acting was really cool. I think that was the one where I heard the guy's voice, and I thought it might have been the guy that did... from The Walking Dead, the first one. The guy that played the main character in The Walking Dead first one. From Telltale. I thought it might have been the same guy, but it might not have been. So yeah, really stoked for Deathloop. We'll see what happens with that. Orion streaming integration. Yeah, that was an interesting one. This was a software that Bethesda... I'm going to have a... I've been talking for nearly half an hour, people. Cheers again. This was a software that Bethesda have come up with to make streaming any game, not just a Bethesda game. You can add this software to any game that you're developing as a developer, and it will make it stream at a gazillionth of the speed that a standard game would stream. And it was very cool that they were talking about it. If this does what they're saying it does, they're about to make money off of every game that's ever going to be streamed in the universe. And now when we talk about stream, it's not just about people showing games off now. It's about actually playing a game. Because you're talking about cloud gaming now. And if that software is the software that makes cloud gaming become as good as you sitting in front of an Xbox console and a TV, or a PS4 and a TV, then they're going to make a fortune out of that. It's going to be really interesting to see how many people pick that up. So good for them. Really, really cool business idea. Doom Eternal was their big finisher. I played Doom, actually, the last one. It's a really good game if you're into shooters. Doom Eternal looked amazing as a first-person shooter. Loads of blood, yeah, I mean, it looks really, really cool. There was a battle mode in it. Slayer versus D. I think it was I think it was many demons versus one Slayer or something like that. You know, we've seen that kind of thing before. It looked quite cool. Not my kind of thing, but there you are. And that was Bethesda. Ubisoft's was, I've not jotted down much about the others, to be honest, so we're getting pretty close to the end, people. Ubisoft's, their big thing was Watchdogs Legion. Now, actually, to be fair, it was funny, because before the thing started, I said to my son on a text that series is dead to me, I'm not interested. I think because there's not been a regular protagonist, I like something that I come back to the same character with, and, you know, they didn't like the character from the first one didn't take off, they changed the second one, I've never played it. It looked like a bunch of roof runners and I couldn't be bothered. And so I was not expecting much from this. But actually, after watching the trailers and the gameplay footage and everything that they were doing, it's very, very, very cool idea if it's done in depth enough. Because what they've basically done is any NPC that you see in the game isn't an NPC. Like anything moving around in that game that is a person, you can recruit and become and play as. And you basically build up a network of people by going around and recruiting people. Everybody you see on the street, everyone you can scan them, you can see what the traits they have. Do you need a hacker? Do you need a shooter? Do you need a sniper? Do you need a fisty guy? An agent? Do you need a secret agent? Do you need an ex-MI5 person? All this sort of stuff. And you can recruit them and bring them into your squad, and you can jump into those players and play as them. And that is absolutely amazing. The stuff they showed was brilliant. Other than apparently everybody in London swears, including the grannies. We swear in the UK, we swear every third word. According to America and Canada, that's what happens in the UK. All right, mate, you fucker. That's basically what this clip was. Every bloody third, fourth, fifth word was like, fucking what? Fuck off. It's like, I don't know what that's all about. It was like when I played Uncharted 3, and there was that beginning section in London, like every single person in the bar that was a Brit had a shaved head. It's like everybody's got a shaved head apparently in Britain as well. Anyway, apart from that, it looked absolutely brilliant. I was really intrigued after watching it. My concern is that, because they said that every character in the game that you look at and can see has a backstory, a family and friends, things going on in their life. So it's whether or not those are generic backstories. Like, if I pick 3 people that were all hackers, would they all have the same backstory, or would they all be different? And that's where it will become interesting, because it's how in-depth that goes. Because if it's different every time, that's genius. You know, like, is it something that is generated on the fly? You know, like you can do with levels and stuff? That would be really interesting to see. But I was really, really impressed with it, I have to say. And it's all going to be down to just how in-depth all that goes. Outside of that, there was Ghost Recon Breakpoint, September 5th. It's the beta. Rainbow Six Quarantine. Not my cup of tea. Division 2 is free from 13th of June to the 16th of June, so that's nearly over. There's more DLC coming for that. And they finished with a game called Gods and Monsters, which looked absolutely gorgeous, and it's the people that did Assassin's Creed Odyssey that have made this game. And the only way I can describe it is it looked like the world of Zelda with this different character in it, and it's all myths and legend type stuff. It will be based on Greek mythology, I think, from what I saw. But it looked gorgeous. It honestly looked like you were walking into a Zelda type world, bit of Breath of the Wild type stuff, with this different little character in it, and this. It was just that sort of flowing, not cartoony, but that sort of in between reality and cartoony type vision. Looked really cool. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that. And where did we end up with? I think Square Enix is the last one, is it? No, still got Nintendo. Square Enix was Avengers. Turns out that's an online MMO, so not going to be my thing. Final Fantasy VII was the big deal, the remake of Final Fantasy VII. They showed a lot of footage of that, and it looks stunning. It looks really good. My concern with that game is, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but my concern with it is that they've kind of said now that, although they kind of hinted at it anyway in the past, but they've said that it's going to be, well, we thought it was going to be episodic, but from what they're saying now is it's probably going to be 2 games. But they're not calling it Final Fantasy VII Part 1. They're just calling it Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, anyway, they have said that this game that we will get, what was the date? March the 3rd, 2020, will be half of the Final Fantasy VII game. But what they've done with it is they've expanded the whole first area, that whole first city that you're in. They've expanded that. They've expanded the stories with the characters and all of this interaction that the character from that game had with all of these characters. And they've made it into a, 50-hour, 60-hour type game. So that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is, they're not selling it as half a game. They're selling it as a full game, and they're not calling it Final Fantasy Part 1 or Final Fantasy Part 2. So they need to kind of be clearer about what the hell they're doing with it, really. I mean, you want to be selling it. Because for my liking at the moment, I think I'd rather not play it at launch and just play it when the second one's out and I get a double disc box. You know what I mean? Which I'll probably do anyway. There is a really cool edition with the main character on a motorbike and stuff. I think it's like $300 or something. Did look good though. Okay, enough about that. We've got Final Fantasy VIII has finally come back. Not come back. It's finally arriving on new gen consoles. It was the only one out of the Final Fantasy series from 7 up. From 7 upward that hadn't been remastered. Well, not remastered's probably a bit harsh, but remastered. We'll call it HD'd onto the new consoles. So it's not remade or anything. It's just HD'd, and it is coming it's coming in 2019. They didn't give an exact date from what I saw. So there was loads of folks stoked about that. It was the one left from 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. Why is 11 escaping me? I think that was online. So yeah, so they'd all been done up to 12, apart from 8. I think from what I heard, it was the code for 8 was particularly a nightmare to get through to try and HD, but they've done it, and it's coming in 2019 at some point. Outside of that, we had Dying Light 2, Spring 2020, Outriders, Summer 2020. Outriders was the same people that did Bulletstorm, so it'll be interesting to see what Outriders is like, and it's possible that's an online game though, to be fair, but the action will be cool. Bulletstorm was a fantastic game. And Oninaki, I can't remember what Oninaki was, but it's out on August 22nd, 19th. August 22nd, 19. So finally, we have Nintendo. And so, yeah, I didn't jot much down here either. The few things that interested me were Witcher 3 coming to Switch. We already know now that, because the first time I saw it, I was like, that's going to be really slow. Because that is a really resource-heavy game. Apparently, on the handheld, it's going to be 540p, and on the big screen, it's going to be 720p. So that's where they're getting the layoff for being able to do it on a Switch. So, unless the only reason to be buying that game on a Switch is if you're doing it mobile, which is great. I love the fact they've managed to get that onto a mobile device. Couldn't be happier for it, but there is no reason whatsoever to be playing that on a big screen in 720p. Link's Awakening, we already knew that was coming. There was no date. That was jotted down anyway. Resident Evil 5 and 1, and there might have been a few others in there, but definitely 5 and 1 were coming to the Switch. And this was actually quite a cool one. Ninokuni, the first one, is coming to the Switch. Because Ninokuni, the first one, actually started on a Nintendo console. It was on I think it was on the Wii. Was it the Wii or the Wii U? Anyway, it was on the previous console. And it ended up coming over to PS4. I adored that game. It was absolutely beautiful. So yeah, really, really cool game to be having on it's a brilliant game. It's really hard as well, the Ninokuni first one. I haven't played the second one yet. I know it's not as good as the first one, but it's still a good game. So Ninokuni, yep, looking forward. Well, I don't know if I'll buy it for the Switch. I think my son probably will, but I don't know that I would have the reason to do it. If anything, I'd probably be better playing it on the PS3 again and going through. I'd love that game to come over to PS4, actually, just for a new set of trophies. And they finished off with the big one, and I don't know that anybody was expecting it, actually, but they basically said that the Breath of the Wild sequel is in the making. Well, I think we could kind of guess that they're always going to have a Zelda in the making, but Zelda Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Breath in the Wild sequel is in the making. And there is a bit of a rumour. They showed a clip, and it was just Link walking around with Zelda, and I think that's where the rumour might have stemmed from. But the maker of the game, or somebody, might be the director of the director of the game maybe, was asked outright, is there a reason they're walking around together? Is it going to be co-op? And he was very vague about his answer. So there's a little bit of a hint coming that it might be a co-op Zelda game. Probably optional, so you can still play it on your own. But that'll be interesting to see how that develops. I hope they've got rid of this whole, like, everything you pick up breaks after 3 hits, because that's what's put me off finishing Zelda, to be fair, Breath of the Wild. And that was it. That's pretty much all I jotted down, people, and there you are. So I think I had promised to come back to Jedi Fallen Order, had I not? I had actually jotted all of this down to come in a different kind of way. So here's the E3 bits. I'll tell you what, we'll start with the polls. So I put a couple of polls up. They were quite interesting. There's only 2 of them. Let's go over and see how they stand. So I put a poll up. The first poll that I put up was, things are really heating up games-wise. What game are you most excited for after seeing the E3 gameplay of Jedi Fallen Order? Is my pick of the bunch. So I was asking you what you were most excited about out of Jedi Fallen Order, Cyberpunk 2077, Borderlands 3, Gears 5, and Death Stranding. I know Death Stranding wasn't an E3 thing, but I thought I'd throw it in there because it's a game that's coming very soon. I left out Halo because it's a next-gen game, so that's why it wasn't in the list. And the clear winner was Cyberpunk 2077, followed by Borderlands 3, followed by Death Stranding, followed by Jedi Fallen Order, followed by Gears 5. So that's quite interesting. Gears 5 came last, Jedi Fallen Order second to that, Death Stranding next, then Borderlands 3, then Cyberpunk. So Cyberpunk and Borderlands seem to be the 2, and that was out of 52 votes. You know, it's quite a lot of votes, that, actually, for the things that I throw up there. So that was quite interesting. And the last one I asked was, who do you think had the best E3 2019 conference? And that moved around all over the place for ages. There's been 40 votes, and in the end, Microsoft topped it with 50%. Microsoft 50%. Nintendo with 22% came second. Then Square Enix in third. Bethesda in fourth. Ubisoft in fifth. So there you are. That was It's interesting how these things work out. I mean, I can't believe how stoked I am for Jedi Fallen Order and not stoked for Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, it's like people are excited for Cyberpunk 2077 just because they love The Witcher. I mean, I seriously am not sure that the people that love The Witcher are going to love that game. But we'll see. We'll find out. And I think we've talked about everything else now. Final Fantasy VII we talked about. Coming in 2 parts we've talked about. And yeah, the tech for the Scarlet we've talked about. So that leaves 2 things, actually. There's 2 things left to talk about. Well, you'll be glad to know that I'll stop talking soon. Not that I vlog this. Do you know, the vlogs this long are always the E3 ones. Always. Oh, I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty, people. Cheers to you all. There was a little surprise, and it wasn't even in a conference. It wasn't even mentioned in a conference that I saw. I didn't see it mentioned by anybody until I was watching a random... It was a GameSpot interview on YouTube. I just was looking for stuff that was happening at E3. It was a live interview with this guy from this studio. I can't even remember what the studio was called. And the game is called The Sinking City. And I was sort of started watching this interview, and then immediately went to this full-on gameplay, and it looked brilliant. It's set in the like 1920s, 30s. The guy's walking around in all that sort of era of gear, and he's in this sort of city that's sinking, funnily enough. But it's like it gave me the whole sort of Evil Within crossed with the Last of Us sort of. It was kind of the Evil Within, the Last of Us. And you know that game that was out? What was that game called that was out right at the beginning of the new gen, where you were you died and you were a ghost for the whole game, trying to do quests and stuff. It will come back to me. It was a cross between those three things, because you're basically a private detective in it, and you're trying to figure out what is going on in this town, along with the fact that you're slowly going insane, and you have like an insane meter at the bottom of the screen. And if you have an episode, the insane meter builds up and more things will happen. And there's all these spiritual things happening, and it's all in third person. And from what I could tell, there was a lot of investigating. There's not a huge amount of ammo in the game, so whatever you need ammo-wise, you're going to have to create yourself, which was, more the Last of Us type stuff. So, that is very scarce to come across those sort of things as pickups, so you need to try and collect and build and what have you. The weapons are all era specific, so they were talking about a revolver, I think, and a shotgun, and they were talking about a Tommy gun as well, that sort of gangster style gun. So it's not. I don't think it's as constantly action as some of those games that I've mentioned. I think it is primarily a spooky investigation game with those elements built into it. It was really cool at one point because it went from this clip of him walking around in his hat and his overcoat and his backpack, and he's walking around the streets. Then he's on a boat and he's going through a bit like a sort of Venice in America, if you like, in this boat, weaving in and out of the different houses and navigating his way around the city. And it's open world, apparently. And then it cut to this scene where you're in one of these 1920s, 30s diving suits, the big ones without a tube that went all the way to the top of the surface for air. And it's just metal, like this massive sort of massive underwater suit that you're walking on so it's one of those you're walking, you don't swim in it. And he's walking around all these levels underneath the water. And that was really cool and really spooky. That took me, but why that wasn't mentioned at any sort of conference, or it was, I completely missed it. So it's called The Sinking City. Go and check it out. I might have tried to put some footage up behind me, but I was finding it difficult when I looked before recording this to find some footage that someone wasn't talking over, or the exact footage that I wanted, or something that have a logo on it. If I can find something, I'll put it up. But if not, go onto YouTube and just search for The Sinking City gameplay, and you'll see it. So it looked pretty cool. And so we move on to Jedi Fallen Order, and as I mentioned earlier, I pre-recorded me talking through, it's a talkthrough. It's a talkthrough of the gameplay footage that was shown. It was actually shown before the Microsoft event kicked off, and it is a game by Respawn, who are part of the EA publishing group, and they are the people that gave us Titanfall. We've all been wondering what sort of Star Wars game they were going to give us when we found out that they were making Jedi Fallen Order, and this was our first good look at it. Let me go and walk you through it. Alright, let's see what we make of this, people. Let's talk our way through it. Do love a TIE fighter flying overhead. That sound it makes. Now, almost immediately, you get quite the Uncharted vibe with this when it comes to navigating the landscapes. And I do love this little droid on his back as well. It's almost like Jedi and Clank, the way that they've done it.
Over here.
So you had the old grapple there. You've got the wall running, which is an interesting one that they've put in, because that's something really from Titanfall, same company after all. Forrest Whitaker.
Refinery lies dead ahead.
What does the Empire want with tree sap?
Nothing good. They refine the sap into a powerful compound, and they're rushing to expand production.
Now, this is an actual level from the game, and Forrest Whitaker's reprised his role as Shay.
They spread themselves too thin.
Not Che Guevara, is it? From the character who was in Rogue One.
Here you go, bud.
These refineries double as brutal prison camps. You use those cutters to create a distraction, while you take your lightsaber and free the Wookiees inside. We need their help to stop the Empire.
Understood.
Watch yourself in there.
So this is all set after Episode 3, just after Vader's done away with all of the Jedis and killed them all, he thought, and you're a Jedi on the run, effectively. So his character from Rogue One is obviously a lot younger. It's a long time before Rogue One happens, and it's really nice to see that character brought into this game, the Forrest Whitaker character. And I love what they did with this droid, because there's no way you could navigate a game like this with something like R2-D2 or even a C-3PO. So they've come up with this R2-D2 type character that is more agile, can sit on your back and come with you. I don't recall having seen droids like that in the Star Wars universe, but I could be completely wrong. There's so many different droids in those films. I mean, it looks stunning as well. And I love the way that he uses the lightsaber as a torch. Absolutely brilliant. Now, they were saying in the interviews and things that I've read that they've actually based the mechanics of the fighting on their go-to point when they were thinking about it was Dark Souls and Bloodborne, which is just everything that I wanted to hear. Now, it's more accessible than that. It's not as solid, although we don't know what the difficulty levels will be. But I don't see it being as painful as that, but it's the mechanics of the fighting that are the more interesting thing. You can't just run in and hack and slash, because you'll get your ass handed to you. But the basic soldiers... Now there's two different moves going on there. One is to deflect the laser beams, the other one is to direct them back at them. So apparently it's a completely different thing, just deflecting them, than it is actually firing them back.
Gonna need to get through here.
Thank you, droid. Black R2-D2 has to be bad. Force time.
Attention all units. We've got contact. Troops stationed at cargo pad 119.
So you'll see a bit more
Keep to your posts and stay alert.
care having to be taken in a minute. Nice. So he's deflecting the shots back at him. He had to parry them. But you'll see a guy with a two-hander in a minute. There, thank you. Skill point gains. There's a level-up system. Alright, so there's an enemy to think more about here.
A Jedi. This is what I've trained for.
So they're locking weapons as they go. He's having it back off. Lost health there. I think the bar in the middle is the force bar, I think. Well, there's two bars. One's the force bar, the other might be a stamina. Yeah, the blue one's the force bar by the looks of it. Now, you can't get force back unless you hit an enemy. There's no potions that will give you force back or anything else. It has to be done by hitting enemies, other than a rest point, I think.
Never seen a trooper like that before. You gotta get these Wookiees out of lockup. Keep moving, Jedi.
I love the fact that Forrest Whitaker's in this game.
Think you can help me, BD?
I think apparently he reprised that role for, was it Star Wars Rebels it's called? I think he reprised it for that, and now he's reprised it for this as well. It just gives that connectivity to that world from the films. It makes it feel like it's in that universe.
They're coming through the wall. Hit their nest.
Good mix of enemies as well. I mean, just in this one little segment alone, we've seen standard troopers, biker troopers, we've got these flamer troopers. I think those flamers are wearing the sort of snow ones, aren't they? The snow outfits. And then you've got flame to dodge now. So you've had bullets, you've had double-handed weapons at you, you've had flames at you. I'm not sure if there's grenades and stuff being thrown around. I haven't seen many of those yet. And this is very Uncharted, isn't it? The climbing around. I mean, I'm a big,
you want to plug into this thing?
big part of me thinks that this is the Amy Hennig game, but it's been very much changed. But I think I think this may well have been that game and been bent to the will of what they wanted. Because it is so Uncharted in its design in some ways.
A shortcut. That's why you wanted to get this thing. You had no idea that was there, did you?
Still nobody's told us how people are able to understand droid. Use the force. Here we go. Right, we've got some beetles now, another form of enemy. Again, I mean, in that one area, what we had 6 or 7 different enemy types. So it's not shy and mixing it up, which is quite nice. So I think much like the Souls and Bloodborne type stuff, the smaller enemies won't challenge you much on their own, but when they're in a group they will. That's very Kingdoms of Amalur, isn't it? Getting caught in the spider web. Having to mash your way out. Oh yeah, I was going to say, throw it. Yeah, there was a little dodge button there as well. Be interesting to see how Bloodborne-y that feels. Jumped to the side there as he was coming at him. That's the one. But even with the big beetles there, he was very reluctant to go in and start mashing. Kept backing off and then jumping back in again. Another skill point. It doesn't show you anywhere in this clip what you do with those skill points. But from what somebody was, I saw a bit of an interview going on, and they were saying that it was quite a substantial different ways to set the character up as to how you wanted to play. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Patrol the base. Got another breach down here. Some kind of webbing.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a flashback. So he's using the Force to try to figure out what happened. Easy. It's a bit of an interesting scene, this, because it seemed to be pretty much all button mashing. Well, not mashing, sorry, button quick time event. There didn't seem to be, unless it was a particularly well-timed riposte that he did there. You got a big move with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that worked. It might just been a jump moment, and it was just a case of hitting the right button at the right time. Cool though. The environments are gorgeous as well. You know, climbing up vines, climbing up grids, climbing up walls. Still should have called it Ratchet and Jedi. This is quite cool as well. It sort of gives it that platformer type feel to it when you have to do stuff like this. It reminded me a little bit of Dead Space as well. Slowing stuff down so you can get through it or over it. Wall running.
I just heard from the captain. They're coming.
The wall running is an interesting one. I don't recall any other Jedi doing wall running.
What was that?
I think it's just something that they used in Titanfall and thought it was cool. I like it. I'm glad it's there. But honestly, this gameplay trailer is the first time I've been pumped for this game. It is the one game out of the entire E3 that I'm just so excited for, and it's coming in November. This year, people. This year. This is very cool. So he throws his own laser beam in the air and then dragged him into it. Killed him with his own laser shot. Very slick. So much to look at in every area. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Nice.
Jedi will be here any minute.
Interesting if you could fall off of that.
In retreat. Good. Sir?
They did it in Tomb Raider, didn't they? You look like you could fall, but I don't think you can.
Jedi incoming.
Here we go. Forced off the edge, eh? So those little enemies on their own, not much of a fuss, but bring them all together with a bigger enemy, you've got a problem and you've got your hands full. Very cool.
Jedi will perish.
Yeah, see, there was a little timed dodge there. It went to slow-mo. Very minimalistic on screen as well, which I like a lot. As in bars-wise. Not many controls on screen, which I like. Easy. Nice. Yeah, see, the health was right down there, wasn't it? That's quite cool, isn't it? You get a little health shot off of the droid. Now, you only get a certain amount of those health things. He's got 2 left, so he must have started with 3. This is also a Dark Souls-y type thing. You cannot replenish that at all without being at one of your save points. So there's it's like a praying shrine or something, like a Jedi type thing, and that refills your health. So you'll get 3 health back. So maybe you can upgrade that to 4 or 5, whatever, like you do in Dark Souls. Soon find out, I suppose. But that's very cool as well. Oh, way up. It's a shame that's not the robot, Rogue One. Oh, not Rogue One. That was the one in Solo, wasn't it? Solo story. So there you are. That is the trailer that got me uber stoked. Uber stoked for that game. I mean, I just love it. And what kept feeding the uber stoke was every time I heard something about it or, you know, read something or saw someone talking about it, they were all saying the same sort of thing. Because me and my son had said, I'd love it if that game was kind of Sekiro-y, Bloodborne-y kind of battle-like, where you've got to think about what you're doing and parry and you know, and that's exactly what they've done. You know, it's they said, well, they didn't mention Sekiro, but they said that their base point of this game was that they looked at Dark Souls and Bloodborne and something else, which was completely different. I can't remember now. Something like Zelda or something. So as their starting point as to what they wanted to do with these battle mechanics. And that is going to be the genius of it. And the whole fact that you can't pick up health potions, or, you know, you start with, you've got these 3 health potions that you can use through a section, and you have to get, if you use them, you've got to wait till you get to your next prey point before you can get them back. All this sort of stuff. Very Dark Souls-y, Bloodborne-y type things going on. And that stokes me for this game, because it's gonna, for me, that makes it interesting and good to look forward to. And with Forrest Whitaker being in it, I just love. There was so much about this I loved, so much. I cannot tell you, people. I'm stoked, and it's coming this year. What the shit, people? Whoo! There you are. That is it. That is my E3 vlog for this year. Thank the Christ for that. It's nearly 50 minutes long, this vlog, people. Nobody wants to hear me talk this long, even me. I am kidding, of course. There you are. I will talk no more. It has been an honour and a privilege bringing this vlog to you today, and I shall see you all in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.